Here's the iPhone 16. I'm going to remove the back and show you everything new about the back glass of this device. The first thing that I did was to remove the two screws at the bottom of the device. The design itself for the iPhone 16 is a little bit different from the iPhone 15, but the internals should not change much. I will be hitting the back glass of this iPhone 16, starting with the bottom and focusing on the bottom half of the device. So this is the heat gun that I'm using. This has a temperature control and the air output also is controlled. I just heated the device for about 50 seconds on the highest setting with the air output at 50%. Now, if you have done everything right and the device is at the right temperature, on the first go with a suction cup, you're going to see the back glass getting lifted and you can insert a guitar pick between the back glass and the frame of this iPhone 16. Note that while hitting the back glass of the iPhone 16 or any other iPhones that has a removable back glass, mainly the iPhone 15s, and the iPhone 16s, also the iPhone 14 and the 14 Plus, you need to move the heat gun around, not staying in one single spot. This may cause damage. Also, the guitar pick needs to be inserted slightly, just enough in order to go a little bit past the double-sided tape and not far inside. Now that I have separated a good portion of the back glass from the frame of the device at the bottom, I just inserted a tool in order to have a placeholder so that it doesn't close on me. Then I started hitting the top half of the iPhone 16 in order to continue removing the back glass on that spot. So one critical thing to note with the iPhone 16 is that on the side where you have the volume buttons and the action button, there is a cable going from the motherboard and going back to the back glass. It has the wireless coil, the flashlight, and the external microphone. So you need to be careful not to insert the guitar pick far inside on that side of the device to avoid damaging that cable. The same thing applies near the cameras. You do not want to circle the cameras with your guitar pick. Here's the inside of the iPhone 16. So the back is very different from the iPhone 15, but the inside of the iPhone 16 is very similar to the iPhone 15. Before we proceed in the disassembly of the back glass, removing all the components on the back glass, you need to remove two screws that are holding a retaining plate covering the flex cable for the back glass and other flex cables connected to the motherboard. After you remove the screws, you need to press the retaining plate toward the battery and remove it. So now I'm going to disconnect the battery cable. In a separate video, I'm going to talk about the new battery of this iPhone 16 and what Apple has designed as hitting the double-sided tape on the back using a battery in order to remove the battery easily. Is it really easy or is it confusing? So this is the back glass of the iPhone 16. Aside from the cameras, it looks very similar to the back glass of the iPhone 15 and the iPhone 14. Next, I'm going to remove the components that are on the back of this back glass, mainly the wireless coil, the flashlight, and the external microphone. This is one big piece, and if it got damaged, you are in a big trouble. So the ideal way to replace the back glass is to transfer this component from the old broken back glass onto your new back glass and reseal the device. I removed one screw, then removed the retaining plate covering the flashlight. Then I use one of my tools in order to pry out the flashlight so that I can see it on the inside of the back glass. For what I'm doing now, you need to have the heat gun at 500 Fahrenheit. I will have the link to the heat gun in the description. The heat gun has to be at 500 Fahrenheit and you need to use a small tool like this one, a blade or a flat metal tool, in order to lift the external microphone. If you use a blade, make sure that you go below the external microphone double-sided tape, not in between the flex cable and the external microphone. This is critical. If you do what I just said, you will have damaged the external microphone, and for that reason, you will have to replace this whole big piece of hardware. Something else to note is that while pulling the flex cable, make sure that you're careful, because at some areas you have a big double-sided tape and right before that or right after that you do not have any double-sided tape. So if you're pulling and you just remove the double-sided tape, it might keep pulling the flex cable and damage it. So make sure that you're careful if you need to transfer this component onto your new back glass. So another thing, this small sensor is something that can cause you a lot of trouble if it gets damaged while you remove or while you manipulate this flashlight, wireless, and microphone assembly. It will prevent you from having any update going to your iPhone, and also the iPhone will go into a infinite reboot cycle. So now I'm working on the wireless coil. For the wireless coil, you still need to have the heat gun on, and you need to pry out slowly all the pieces of double-sided tape or plastic or graphite tape that are covering the wireless coil. You need to do that, take your time to do that in order to avoid damaging the wireless coil. Again, since all these are one big piece, if one gets damaged, either the wireless coil, the flashlight, or the external microphone, you will need to replace the whole thing. It is true that you can get this component online and replace it. Most of the time, you will not have the same quality as microphone as the one that Apple has originally. I am speaking from experience. I got one for my iPhone 15 and the external microphone was not the same as the one that I had before. It was very bad. So the best thing is to remove this piece in one piece and then reuse it for your iPhone. So now that this has been removed, one thing that is a little bit bothersome is these cables at the outer edge of the circle, the wireless coil. So this is some cable that are loose. They are not glued to the back of the wireless coil like the one in the center. So you need to have those glued on the outer edge in the same position before you reinstall the whole assembly onto your back glass. So for the magnet, if your new back glass does not come with any magnet, you should be able to remove all the magnet and transfer them using super glue onto the new back glass. Just use a flat blade like the one that I had, my green scalpel, to remove all the magnet and then transfer them one by one onto the new back glass. But most of the back glass, the good ones, comes with magnet already. So for the installation, start with the flashlight and also the external microphone at the top. Then from there, you simply need to apply pressure for everything to align in the correct position. Simply apply pressure to all the flex cables and also the graphite tape in order for everything to be aligned in the original position. Make sure that you apply pressure on the small sensor on the left to have it sticking on the back of the back glass. The next step is to make sure that you apply the retaining plate that is covering the flashlight and add the one screw to hold everything in place. Make sure that the flex cable is aligned properly for the screw to go in without any trouble. So the back glass of this iPhone 16, it has been reconstituted and I need to test it to make sure that it is working properly after all these removing and reinstallation. So the external microphone, flashlight and wireless charging should all be working now. For the reinstallation of this retaining plate, make sure that you lock it in place first before you add the screws. Then you can add the screws. So now that everything is good, I do not have a replacement for the double-sided tape, but the one inside this iPhone is in very good condition. So I added a small layer of B7000. Next, I blew some air on the camera lenses and also on the camera modules. Then I simply close the back on the frame of the device. You do have some metal pins on the back glass of the iPhone 16. You need to apply pressure and hearing some clicking sound. That means that the back glass is in position inside the frame of the device. Apply some pressure, then do not forget to add the screws at the bottom of the device near the charging port. My next step was to add some constant pressure retaining clamps on the back of the iPhone 16. So the device will stay this way for 20 minutes and after that I can start using it. So here's the device with me removing all the retaining clamps, and on the back of the device, due to the B7000 and the double-sided tape that Apple used being black, this is why you can see some of the black double-sided tape on the back. So if you rub just with your finger, you're going to get rid of all the excess B7000 on the back of your device. You can see here it is clean. There is nothing that you can see. The flashlight also is working. Everything is working. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, like and share. I have more videos like this on the channel and I will see you next time.